I'm Marc Middleton along with Bill Schaefer. This is Growing Bolder at the National Senior Games here in Fort Lauderdale. And tonight we are coming to you live from the Intercoastal. And Bill, here's the blessing and a little bit of the curse about having a really good producer. I asked, producer Lynn, is this really the Intercoastal? She said yes. And then 2 minutes later she said it's also called officially the Stranahan River, which is named after Frank Stranahan, who was the founding father of Fort Lauderdale. And here's where it gets a little weird. Let's celebrate Frank, because he had a working wife back in 1901 who was a teacher, so power to the women. But now that we know we're on
this part of the
River,
broadcast brought to you by the National Education Foundation.
Yeah,
that was good.
But it is fun. There's been a lot of traffic along the Stranahan River since we've been here.
The National Senior Games, maybe some of you don't know, it is held every 2 years in a different city. This year in Fort Lauderdale, oh my gosh, could they have picked a more scenic, beautiful city? I don't know, but everywhere you look, you see the water, can you see the convention center across the way over there?
We can, but look at the catamaran first. My goodness, wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, you're right. The convention center right behind the catamaran right now, that's really kind of ground zero. That's the hub of the National Senior Games. Every athlete, Bill, that comes here has to go into that building to pick up their athlete packet, to get their credentials. And there are many sports being contested inside there.
So how many athletes are participating in the National Senior Games this year?
There's about 12,000 men and women, but here's the deal. Of those 12,000, there's only 2 that have competed in each and every one of the now 17 National Senior Games. I wonder who those guys are.
And they're held every other year?
Every other year.
Wouldn't it be incredible if there was some group out there that could bring their stories to the people?
All the way back from 1987 to now. I mean, how do you find out who these...
Well, growing bolder. Growing bolder, baby. Growing bolder. It's why you're here, we hope, because these are 2 incredible people. You'll love their stories. One is 99 years old. He's going to be 100 in September. How old is that? He was in the Battle of Normandy, the invasion. He became a lawyer for the U.S. Department of Treasury, and he started running.
Very cool.
At the age of 60. That's when he started, so it's never too late, folks. In fact, since then, he's got at least a half a dozen, he said at least a half a dozen records. He's an incredible man. His name is Roy Englert, and you're going to meet him right now.
In lane 2, from Virginia, Roy Englert.
So tell me, when you started doing all this, people must have said, you are out of your mind.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. People think this was 40 years ago now. I was about 60, and people said, what in the world are you doing? My mother said, you're too old to run. This was 40 years ago.
On your mark, set.
Were you an athlete all of your life?
Oh no, I was very small when I was growing up, so I never did any athlete. I kept active, running after my kids, of course, So when I started running. I couldn't run a quarter of a mile without getting out of breath, but you kept at it, and I kept going. And
what is it like to be 99?
It's no different than being 59 or 69 or whatever. You just keep going as long as you can. That's all you can do.
Can you help us understand what's the magic? What's the secret ingredient that made you say, wow, this is for me?
It's fun. It's fun. I always have fun. I go to these meets. You got to know a lot of people, and the camaraderie and the competition. That's a lot of fun. And of course, the older I get, the fewer competitors I have.
What would you tell the people? Everybody agrees with you that activity is important, it's helpful, but we still don't do it. We still sit and...
I know. All I can do, the advice I give them is keep moving. Keep moving. Whatever you're doing, just keep moving. And that's what I do.
Oh my gosh, it is so empowering to meet somebody like that, especially someone who's been involved in every single National Senior Games. Said when he started like that, everybody thought he was crazy. Nobody knew about the virtue of exercise, and he really was a pioneer at the very beginning of this movement.
And he had whatever it takes to prove all of those doubters wrong. I love the fact that his mother said you can't do it, because we talk a lot about this. We all know about the power of positivity, but few of us really understand the power of negativity. And in truth, negative thinking is more powerful something positive. And this is the truth. All it takes is one family member, one friend to tell you you can't do something, and most people won't, which is what makes the National Senior Games pretty cool, because this is a community of people who tell you you can.
So encouraging. I just want to leave, before we leave Roy, I want to tell you my favorite thing that he told me after we finished the interview. I said, "You must really love running." And he goes, "I don't like running, but I love finishing."
Yeah.
So that's his attitude. That's how he gets through it. Isn't that great?
It is great. There is power in finishing something. Yeah, all right, we mentioned one of the two that has competed in each and every one of the 17 National Senior Games. The other one is a guy by the name of George Freeman. George is 90 years old now. The cool thing about him, Bill, is that he plays a lot of sports. He's got a lot of tools in his toolkit, and he pulls them out when he needs them. And even though he wasn't feeling really, really strong this year, since he's a bowler, he figured I can pick up that 8-pound ball or whatever heck they weigh, and he's here to bowl this year. Listen to George.
A fellow told me about the senior games for the first time, and he said, "You'd better get in them." And he happened to have graduated from Harvard, so I really listened to him.
I'm here because my dad has been in every National Senior Games, and he was determined to get here. In spite of COVID, he said, "I really want to go," and it was hard. I mean, it's a lot for a 90-year-old to travel. You know, he hasn't traveled in 2 years, but he's here, and he practiced, and he was getting really nervous, and my sister said, "You know, Dad," she said, "you're one of the only ones that's made it this far. Who cares if you get gutter balls? It doesn't even matter." And after that pressure was taken off him, he's doing great.
In all the years I've been here, I won one gold, one silver, and one bronze. I've won a lot of ribbons, of course, but I'm not a world beater. I'm just simple Joe from Tokyo. Well, they say you get a lot more out of life if you take chances. You know, do things that you haven't done before. And I've done a lot of that with the senior games.
He, you know, has been in track and field, golf, shuffleboard. I mean, you name it, he's qualified for the National Senior Games. But he lives his life being active and exercising. It's like breathing. You get up and you get out and you start moving. That's the first thing you do before you eat breakfast, or you just keep moving. Our whole life has been like that. So he's an inspiration, and I'm really proud of him.
All I know is that most 90-year-olds aren't like I am. And the beautiful part is my great-grandchildren, they think it's super. And they're all runners or walkers, and they're all involved in athletics. I'm setting a good example, I think, for them, which is do something in life, that's good. Yeah.
Of course, you have to have goals. So his next goal is Pittsburgh. He wants to be in that National Senior Games. Dad never stops. He's 90, but there's always that next thing. Now, you know, first it was to get here, and now he wants to move on to the next thing.
You know, I don't think there is a coach anywhere, Bill, including life coaches, that would disagree with that point, that you have to have a goal to strive forward toward. And especially as we get older, if we don't have something that we want to accomplish, something to look forward to, something to keep us getting up and being disciplined, frankly, it's easy to just kind of let it all go.
And the huge point about this, George is 90, Roy is 99. Stations, network TV stations, used to do stories on those guys just for being alive. But here they are thriving in what they do, looking forward to the next thing, setting goals, and truly living a life of fulfillment.
You know, before we left the media room over here at the Broward County Convention Center, I asked Del Moon, who is the communications director, because he knows both of these guys really, really well. We just talked to him. He knows them personally. We said, all right, 99 and 90 years old, what are the odds that either one or both will be back in Pittsburgh in July of 2023? And he said, don't count either one of them out. They're both determined to be there.
All right, now this entire games isn't necessarily about people who are 100 years old. We're going to turn it over to some of the younger folks coming up next. We're going to take you to triathlon, and then we're going to show you how Marc set another record.
Welcome back to Growing Boulder live at the National Senior Games here in Fort Lauderdale. A lot of different things happening right now on the Stranahan River, the Intercoastal. Right behind me, there are some folks that are probably catching their dinner, and right behind them, some folks that are probably having their dinner prepared for them aboard their super yacht, because we are right next to Super Yacht Village. And I imagine, Bill, it's not inexpensive to live there, and of course you got to have a super yacht, which is
Can you imagine if there was a discount store saying, "Come on down to Super Yacht Village now. They're going to fly off the shelves."
I don't think you're ever going to hear that.
No, you're not.
All right, let's talk about the triathlon, because our crew had to get up very, very early this morning to get their gear together and cover the triathlon. So let's take a look now at the action from beautiful Crandon Park, which is on Key Biscayne. It was a picturesque morning by the ocean. Hundreds of triathletes of all ages began their day with a quarter-mile swim at 7 a.m. Eastern. After beginning the race with this saltwater dip into the Atlantic, they jumped on their bikes for a 12.4-mile ride, crossing the bridges that look out towards downtown Miami. The cycling leg of the competition had these athletes make their way back toward the beach, where they hopped off the bikes and then ran a 5K right along the waters by Crandon Park. It's tough to imagine a prettier place to hold a competition than the sites that we've been seeing here. You know, another interesting wrinkle to this, folks, is that the National Senior Games was collaborating with a Miami-based group called 305 Triathlon, who brought in younger athletes to compete at the same time as the 50-plus age groups, creating an intergenerational morning, and there's nothing we like more than that. At the end of the race, we asked the Senior Games athlete what years of competing in triathlons had taught them about life in general. Take a listen.
It's fun, and it's a sense of accomplishment, and they can become life-changing when you compete one. You know, my first one, I switched over to the medical field. I changed careers completely. Second one, I wrote a book. Third one, I opened up a primary care practice. You know, fourth one, started on my doctorate. So it just gets you going. Again, it's part of life. You get that dedication and inspiration, but that just kind of carries over. You know, do this for an hour, maybe at most exercise 6 to 9 hours a week. There's a lot of other hours in the week, and all that stuff that we do, the dedication and the drive and whatnot, just carries forward into life. And you asked a question earlier about having somebody do it. It's not necessarily about competing and finishing and trying to win a medal or something. It's about learning more about yourself and what you can do in the rest of life.
Just the fact of doing it, the fact of being there is all it takes. There's not anything more than that. Just keep going, persevere, get through any kind of injury or problems, just stay with it forever.
The triathlon and the marathon and any kind of running, any kind of sport, it's going to get you through a lot of hard times. I've had some really dark times, in my life where things like happened to me, and I always would just get up. I would, even if I was like in my darkest day and just felt like, oh, this is a terrible day, I would strap on my shoes and put on my gear, and maybe it took me an hour to get out the door, but I would push myself out the door. My husband left me. I had 3 little kids. Prior to that, or during that time, my brother was in the Iraq War, and he was losing soldiers, and there was one that we got to know, and he had just died, and I was like bawling. I'm like, I'm just gonna bawl on the run. I can cry in the woods. And then I just cried on the, just like get it out of my system. Like, this is so unfair. And then you just kind of pick yourself up each day. Once you get going, the endorphins kick in, and you're just like, I did it. I conquered today's self-doubt, or today's thing, or today's obstacle. It's about conquering obstacles. And every time you do that, you give yourself a little pat on the back. There's another feather in your cap that I accomplished something I didn't think I could.
It makes great sense, Bill, that when you combine 3 great sports on their own into one athletic competition, it's not just a supreme test of your athletic ability. It really, brings out your confidence, it increases your motivation, and really makes you more resilient.
Yeah, if you can do it. Yeah. I've tried like crazy. It's not easy, because the triathlon, which you're talking about, bicycling, swimming, running, all together.
Right.
That sounds like a month to me.
But what we've seen here, there are great competitors in every race, but there's also people. I watched a woman swim a 100-yard freestyle today, and it took her I don't know, felt like an hour, but it took her a long time to do it. She got a standing ovation when she was done.
And don't you root for the people, the crowds, the people that are watching go crazy when they know that somebody's a beginner, when they know that somebody's new or trying to overcome some obstacle. This is such a nurture. I would think that they'll point at me, laugh, and say, look at his white legs. Look at that guy try to run. But they don't. They embrace you. They help make you feel like you belong, and that really is all it takes.
You got a point about your white legs. But that aside, here's what I think. When they're clapping for people like that, I think really they're clapping for themselves because they're realizing, I could do that. If she can do it, I can do it. And that's really I think the most valuable lesson that we learn here each and every day.
It would be very interesting, wouldn't it, if we were able to show you guys what happened at the triathlon, but it was so early and that we probably don't have that, right?
We don't have that. We just had it. All right. One of the things that we hear constantly here at the National Senior Games are these athletes now enjoying the process so much they cannot wait for the next National Senior Games, which is going to occur in July of 2023. Pittsburgh 2023 is something everybody's talking about. And I got to tell you, with all due respect to Fort Lauderdale and the other host cities over the last 3 decades, I think Pittsburgh is going to nail this.
The word is out! Pittsburgh is a must-see travel destination. Plan a visit and you'll quickly find what makes our city so special. The experiences and attractions you'll find only in Pittsburgh.
That's right, experiences like the Heinz History Center,
The Andy Warhol Museum,
or the August Wilson African American Cultural Center,
Bicycle Heaven, Carnegie Museums of Art and Natural History,
the National Aviary, the Mattress Factory for Contemporary Art,
our many parks and green spaces. The list goes on.
Take a ride on one of our 2 iconic and historical inclines to Mount Washington, where you can pair a delicious meal with incredible views at one of the many restaurants that line Grandview Avenue.
And be sure to head into a few of our 90 unique neighborhoods for local flavors,
like a Permanente Brothers sandwich,
handmade pierogies,
or a Pittsburgh salad piled high with fresh-cut fries.
Visit the Western Pennsylvania Sports Museum or the Roberto Clemente Museum.
And be sure to check out a few of our only in Pittsburgh breweries.
Pick up a Pittsburgh Brewery Guide to help you build your ideal brewery tour.
And that's just a start.
Yes, all this and much more, only in Pittsburgh. See you soon.
I'm Bill Schaefer with Marc Middleton here in Fort Lauderdale at the National Senior Games, and we're waterside where we've seen a number of tour boats go by, and almost every single person on the boat, they look and they point right past me and they go, "There's Marc Middleton, the guy who set another record at the National Senior Games." Okay, well, maybe that didn't happen, at least that part. But Marc did. Marc participated in the swimming events here, 4 of them to be exact, and he ended up setting 2 new records. Let's watch the one that he set today, the 50-meter butterfly. Marc, this is one of your better events anyway, isn't it?
I think it's my best event. It's definitely my favorite event. It's kind of a splash and dash, if you will, Bill. It's just 50 meters, 1 lap up and 1 lap back. And, I like to sprint, and I had a good one today. It all came out well. I broke the National Senior Games record by almost 2 seconds, and I missed the American and world record by 1/10 of a second, so I was disappointed with that.
Man, how different is this? May be a bad question. Tell me, how different do the Senior Games look like for me looking from the outside in to you looking from the inside out?
I think it's pretty much the same. It's fun. It's interesting. It's a challenge, and as you can see, once I put the medals on, I had to do a jump for joy, and I had it. So I have to tell you, I'm glad that this part of this week for me is over. Now I can just focus on working and sharing the stories of other people.
We've heard competitors talk about what it means to participate. We've heard others talk about what it means to finish, and we've heard some talk about how important it is for them to excel. Does it feel, it's got to feel good to have a medal around you. I can't even imagine what it would be like to know that my time was the fastest in the history of these games.
It feels good, but I really don't think a lot about that. I just like the challenge. It's like all of these other athletes that we talk about. It's the goal. It's looking forward. It's kind of the thing that motivates you to get out of bed when you don't want to get out of bed. It's the thing that motivates you to jump in the pool and swim when you really don't feel like it. And the sum total of all of those decisions, yes, I will, yes, I will, yes, I will, ultimately you feel pretty darn good, and it does impact the way you age. So, I feel good. I tested myself. I did okay. But the medal I really don't care about, to be honest with you.
But it's like you said, and we heard the same thing from the triathletes. Winning or participating helps you in other aspects of life. It makes you just say yes instead of when opportunity comes up being a little nervous and saying no and missing out.
I will tell you, though, whether I swim well or not, I do feel great, and I take pride in being part of this movement that we cover. I have so much appreciation and gratitude and admiration for all of these athletes that, when I think, okay, now I am part of it because I'm participating, I'm proud of that more than anything else.
It really is hard not to like and not to admire every single person that's here at these games.
There's a lot of them. Let's get off of Marc Middleton. I'm done because there's just some incredible...
You were not the only one in the pool.
Oh, there were some, just amazing stories. And folks, here's one of my favorite. I think it's fair to say that the swimmer that everyone is talking about this week is 100-year-old Charlotte Sandel. She's from Montana. She's not only swimming, she's swimming events that no 100-year-old has ever swum in competition. This is Charlotte in the 200 backstroke. That's 8 laps. I swim 2 laps, Bill. She's also swimming the 500 free, the 100 butterfly. No 100-year-old woman has ever done that. The 100 individual medley, all 4 sports, and other events. She grew up in the Al Capone era in Chicago during the Depression. She was an aviation machinist mate in the Navy from 42 to 45. She retired after a long career in social work at the age of 72, and that is when she decided to first give swimming a try. She now holds over a dozen national records, world records, and she told me, I have no plans on slowing down. What's your message to people out there about what's it take to keep going?
It doesn't matter when you start. Just get in and do it. And find people with whom you're friendly and can not compete with, but feel comfortable with and enjoy them. And that's the only thing you should be doing, is enjoying it.
What do you think when you look at the heat sheet and you see your name and 100 after it?
That's the first time. It's the first time I've ever seen that.
How does it make you feel?
That I made it this far? Good, yeah. Yeah, I've outlived all my ancestors, and I owe it to swimming, I'm sure.
She loves it. She sees this as her mission, her purpose for being around at 99, to show people what you can accomplish. She has people all the time say, this was going to be the last year I did the butterfly at 80, a woman yesterday said. She said, but now I'm going to go to 100. And that happens to her all day long, every event.
And when you stand back and see her, see Mom walking on the pool deck and people just whispering in hushed tones, there she is, how does that make you feel?
Just proud. Just proud. She's always been amazing. I mean, this is nothing new for me. It's just fun to see other people seeing it too.
Charlotte is done swimming in this meet. She told me she's got another meet, another goal on her calendar in a couple of months. And Bill, she'll go home with 5 gold medals and most likely, hasn't been certified yet, but most likely 5 national and world records. But what she's most proud about is that she'll be leaving behind the kind of inspiration that actually changes lives. She has quietly changed the boundaries of what's possible for everyone who just happened to take the time to watch and understand what she was doing. And you know, when I came back from Louisiana a few months ago after watching 105-year-old Julia Hawkins run 100 meters, I said really running is maybe the least interesting thing about Julia, and I feel the same way about Charlotte. I think swimming is the least interesting thing about her. It's just an expression of her personality that enables her to enjoy all aspects of her life. She walked that deck with perfect posture, saying hello to everyone, engaging anyone that wanted to talk to her for as long as they wanted.
So you swimmers, I mean, it's an individual sport, but you're some of the most inspiring and outgoing people there are. That doesn't surprise you at all, does it?
You know, I've seen enough of them, and they all say, and this is the thing, I have to tell you, I was an age group swimmer, and I wished for many, many years that my parents had pushed me into tennis or golf because I thought, well, these are social games, I can play them for life. When I got back into swimming, I realized the blessing that I had been given by giving a lifelong sport, because every one of these 90-year-old swimmers that we interview, you ask them what's responsible for this, the first thing they say is swimming. Swimming is what's done it. I know you've got another inspiring story. And folks, I got to tell you, if you go to any track and field event in Masters Track and Field, these National Senior Games, you will hear the name Tiny Cazel. This is her swan song after an incredible career, and Bill's got that story coming up next. I'm Marc Middleton, back live at the National Senior Games. We're trying to catch some big stories here this week. But here's a gentleman. Sir, can I ask you, I heard you caught a big fish today. What do you catch here in the river?
It's a real big fish.
Well, show us what you got.
I got some yellow jacks, some bug-eyed jacks. Those are yellow jacks. I got a porgy in there.
What are you going to do with that fish?
Oh, we're going to take that home and grill that on up. That in some grease.
Do those taste good?
Yes, sir. And I lost this one to a barracuda. He came and took the other half of them.
And there's still some good meat on there.
Some good meat on him. So, you know, he didn't get a whole fish and run away with my whole fish, but
I appreciate you letting us interrupt. Go have a good dinner and keep on catching the big fish.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. All right, those are big fishes. We're going to go from big to tiny now.
Tiny fish. We met somebody, Mark, who moved to the Villages. She retired and moved to the Villages in Central Florida because she wanted to maintain an active lifestyle. But she never, ever expected her life would be anything like the way it turned out to be. In fact, now she's 85 years old, and as Mark said, they call her tiny, but her impact is anything but.
All right, ladies, have a great race. On your marks. Set.
My name is Madelaine Tiny Cazel. They call me Tiny for years and years and years. That's because I'm so small. My mother told me I never got up and walked. She said I got up and ran, and I've been running ever since. So, I've always been a runner, but I don't pretend to be a good runner. I'm not a good runner. I'm a jogger. I've jogged for years and years, and I love to jog, like just to keep healthy. That's why I do it. I just want to be really healthy. Watch what I eat, be careful what you're doing, and so I take pretty good care of myself. My husband died 6 years ago, and I miss him terribly. But life goes on.
Come on, Tiny. How old did you say you are?
85.
And do people look at you and
yeah,
say
they wonder,
what?
how did you get there? And I keep saying, just keep running. Keep doing something physical. I mean, you can't just sit around. I mean, you just get old.
Yes, Did you ever once in your life think that at 85 this would be you?
I never thought about age. I always did what I really felt that was healthy. I eat healthy, and I take care of myself. I train, and I like the javelin and I like the discus. I set the record in the javelin, and I'll set the record in the discus. At 85, there's not too many people that do that type of thing.
You're proud of yourself.
I think so. My bowling coach once told me, he said, I was practicing, and he said, you know what? He said, you're going to have to learn how to relax. And he said, the only way I know how you can relax is by running. Start running and don't ever stop.
Changed your life.
Yes, I've never stopped running.
That's another incredible athlete. It's hard to... Can you believe that woman was 85 years old? And Mark, when she says never stop running, she means, don't stop moving, being active, looking forward to the next thing, as you've said. Tiny Cazel, a real inspiration.
Yeah, she's not going to stop. And, Bill, I've had the privilege of interviewing her as well. And here's what I think. Is there a downside to all of this? Maybe there can be. She is so hyper-competitive. She trains so hard. She focuses so much. Her will to win is so great that she does overdo it sometimes by her own estimation. And I think she'll want to compete a little bit, but really what she wants to do is she wants to play golf. She wants to travel. And at 85 years old, now's the time to do it.
And she wants to do it like a lot of the people that are here do it, without the relentless training that she puts in, staying in shape, and then just participating. She'd love to play golf. She moved to the Villages. How many golf courses do they have? She says after starting the golf club at the Villages, she's never played.
Well, there's 750 holes, 70 golf courses, something like that.
10,000 tee times a day. She wants to get back to just doing it for the fun of it rather than for the competition.
All right, we've heard from Tiny. Who else have we heard from today?
Well, it was Tiny's mantra, never stop running, that led us to our question of the day at the Growing Boulder booth, and that question was, what is your mantra? And we got some very interesting answers, just as we have every single day. Why don't you write yours there in the comment field? What is the mantra that you live by? Here's what we got from some of the athletes here in Fort Lauderdale at the National Senior Games. Eileen Rush says, failing to plan is planning to fail. She loves that because it keeps her going. She sets goals and tries to reach them. Mary Hafner from Hendersonville, Nevada said, 3 things to do every single day are breathe, love, and move. So she echoed the movement thing. And Jewel Pitts from Montgomery, Alabama says you only get one life. Live every single day that you can.
So do you have a mantra?
Wow, my mantra is to start growing bolder by keeping it here. And that's not the company line. The reason that we started this, that we do this, is because it works. It's the thing to inspire people to live your best life.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, that's great. I like the Growing Bolder mantra, which is dream, believe, persist. I really think that is the formula for success. I think, folks, we all dream. Everybody loves to dream. It's part of being a human being. Few of us really believe our dreams, though. Believe that we can actually make it happen. And so that cuts the crowd down a lot from those who dream and now believe, but very, very few will persist until their dream comes true. So I think that's the simple formula, and that's what I try to think about: dream, believe, and persist.
And that's what we hope you folks get by watching these videos, by going to growingbolder.com, by just sharing your story with friends and using each other to motivate yourselves to maybe do a little bit more than you thought you could, because when it comes down to it, that is Growing Bolder.
Been a beautiful week here. Who wants a beauty shot? I mean, who doesn't want a beauty shot? Jason, can you give us
there's
something?
A yacht right there, Mark.
There's Bill Schaefer's yacht coming to pick
us up.
Folks, have a great evening, and we'll join you tomorrow a little bit later than normal, because it is the celebration of athletes. All the athletes walk in with their groups from the 50 different states, and we will be live, weather permitting, a little bit later than normal, probably around 7 o'clock, and we'll look for you then.